Take a look at this from Benny Johnson. He tweeted this earlier. Breaking, Fulton County DA Fannie Willis regularly questioned election results and used her office to push unfounded conspiracies. On the eve of Trump's arrest in Georgia for challenging an election, a deep dive into the prosecutor's history of doing the same thing. Here's one post. He said, Georgia could determine who is our next president. A team of lawyers needs to watch them count every single vote. They can start in Fulton, where we are having water leaks. What ballots are they throwing out? Georgia, let's give an honest accounting, no stunts. He goes on to mention, a deep dive shows that she is a hardened radical activist, not an unbiased attorney. Her page is littered with BLM propaganda. Fulton County DA Fannie Willis blatantly and quite illegally used her office for partisan political activity. Imagine thinking you'll get justice from a person who is a proud Democrat. There you go with the mug in her office.
Her father is a Black Panther.
Really?
You didn't know that? Yes. Her father was literally a Black Panther. You know, the people who ran around with the Weather Underground? Those folks.
For the past 10 years, we've heard people screaming and freaking out about like Nazis and the right and blah, blah, blah. And yet the organizations that were actually mailing bombs around the United States in the 60s and 70s, well, all of their progeny, all of the children of that movement, all of the people that were informed by the thinkers of that movement, those people are in positions of power and in positions of authority in academia, and they're making new radicals.
And they're there still. Bill Ayers is still teaching in Chicago and still writing Obama's book. I mean, you can't get any better than that.
Everything is fine. Don't worry about it. They're not radical at all.
The amount of red washing that has happened to America, to Americans, is ridiculous. And even with like McCarthyism in the 50s and stuff, and still there's been a massive amount of red washing because of all the
like pro-communism red washing.
You will just like hiding or downplaying communist influence and communist theory and stuff like that. And talking about communist theory or like, you know, leftist theory and stuff like that, but not telling people where it comes from, or making the connection to the thinkers that, so like they'll talk about like, say the influence was this person, right? But they don't tell you that this person's their mentor or whatever was someone like Angela Davis or someone like Herbert Marcuse or whatever, people that are well known as leftist thinkers.
I can't remember his name, but the CIA director.
The current CIA director?
No,
Which one?
A couple back.
The Wolf?
No, the really nasty one. He looked like a bulldog. If you hold up a photograph of him, he looks like a full bulldog. He literally voted for the Communist Party.
He was a communist. Yeah, that's,
yes.
I forget what his name is.
I think he voted for Angela Davis.
Probably. Yeah. Well, he was a communist. So.
Well, one of my favorite examples of this was there was a couple years ago a nonprofit. It wasn't the ADL, but some like research group put out a study on domestic terrorism, and they said, you know, right wing extremism, white supremacy is what's leading the country in domestic terrorism. But they wouldn't release the data that they use. They wouldn't release it so anyone could verify it, and they also excluded any environmental terrorism. So anything like Weather Underground, they didn't count. And so the data that they're working off of is inaccurate, but then they report the headline to freak people out. They want you to be misled on purpose. And I think that's the biggest issue that the average American has, which is that they don't have time to comb through everything. And so they end up relying on the headlines, and the headlines are based on false information.
And Elon Musk said they're going to get rid of headlines on X. And I think it's a brilliant idea. Yep. So I don't know exactly how they do it, but I'm assuming that means when you post a link, it's just going to show the body of text, not the headline. Yeah. Because what they tried doing first was, it was like, you didn't read the article. Would you like to read the article first?
Which I liked.
What I love is, I'll give you an example. The Daily Beast ran a fake story claiming that it said Tim Pool was accused of stealing a cat. The real story was random person lies, police confirm lie, we ran headline anyway. And so this is what they do. You make a headline. Twitter, at the time before it was X, put the story in the what's happening page for like 2 weeks. And it was the weirdest thing. I'm like, what? What is this? And then the story at the bottom, it's like, police confirm it's not true. And they're like, but we'll put the headline anyway.
Well, that's my question, because if you're going to do the body of the story, I want it to be paragraph 8, if possible. Yeah. Because if you read the articles, usually the articles, the first couple paragraphs line up with the headline, and as you keep reading, the second half of the article disproves the entire first half.
Welcome to modern journalism.
Right, but so which part are you going to actually clip as the preview? Which is a complete nightmare. Are you going to do 3 random sentences, which could be interesting, or what?
Just the opening paragraph, because you won't get full context. It'll just say something like, today Donald Trump had appeared at the Fulton County Courthouse and ...
Well, they're such liars. They'll say, shameful, guilty, scumbag president showed up. I mean, they literally are just writing
it out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love the fact checkers trick, the classical move where they'll do something like, Donald Trump will do a backflip off of the White House and land perfectly, and then Snopes will write, did Donald Trump do a backflip perfectly off of the White House onto the lawn, ... on Sunday. And then they'll put false, and then they'll give this big, long-winded explanation, and all the way at the bottom say, well, he did do a backflip. It was on Saturday. And so they add context to a story that no one offered, and then claim it was false because of the context they add. I love it. I'll give you another example is Biden falling asleep. You saw that video?
You mean he's bowing his head in solemnity?
Solemnity. Biden falls asleep, and what does everyone say? He's falling asleep. He appears to have fallen asleep. Yeah, for like 10 seconds. And then obviously in the video, he gets back up. I counted it. It's 10 seconds. Then his eyes open, he coughs, and then he looks up. And I said, he looks like he's falling asleep. What did NBC News claim? They claimed that we said he was sleeping outright. They said, no, he's not. We never said that he pulled out a pillow, laid down on the ground, took a nap. Said he was falling asleep. He clearly is. And they're like, in the higher resolution video, you can see that he opens his eyes. And it's like, you
got us. We're totally misleading you.
But they lie.
They
claim what we've said was more extreme than what we actually said, and then fact check us. It's just absolutely insane.
Also, I think you tweeted about this, but a lot of people doze off in meetings while sitting still, especially people who travel and work a lot. Like, he didn't nap on the ground. Like, these things happen. And instead, they freaked out and both said, you guys are lying. Also, he was being very respectful. Like, he's just really old and probably should not be living the lifestyle that he is being forced to live, right? Like, that's it. And you guys should accept it. But they can't, because they can't admit anything is wrong with Joe Biden because he's their incumbent and they have to protect him at all costs. Like, they're doing a lot of crazy stuff to Republicans, but progressive left that are controlling the Biden White House are also in a terrible position. They do not have a strong candidate going into 2024. That's why they're so desperate.
Well, they do have a guy who's kind of running around, and we're still trying to figure that out. Why is Gavin Newsom running around the country campaigning without actually campaigning? Isn't it weird?
We know where it's going. What did Trump say about Gavin Newsom the other day on the Tucker interview? Like, oh, he's actually really got along with him.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. This will be interesting. Yeah, I think it's reasonable to say Biden is somehow removed from the race in one way or another, and then Gavin Newsom steps in. My theory, I don't know if you heard what I was saying about this a few weeks ago. The best way for Democrats to pull it off is for Joe Biden to have a medical episode on stage at a California rally where Newsom is acting as a surrogate. And then Newsom runs out, rolls up his sleeves, and does CPR on Joe Biden, saving his life. Joe Biden then says, the difficulty and the strain has been too much for me, and I can't, blah, blah, blah. But Gavin Newsom has proven he's the man for the nation. He does a press tour. Everyone says, you saved the president's life. What is that like? And he's just like, you got to do your duty in this country. That's PR gold. You could not hire someone, pay someone. There's no amount of money that would give you the historic PR. I have to imagine, honestly, too, if that really did go down that way, Joe Biden has some kind of medical faints or something, and then there's panic and everyone's screaming, and we've all seen him trip, but so they're primed for it. A more serious thing where grips his chest, and then he stumbles down and falls, and the crowd gasps. Then Gavin Newsom runs out and saves his life. His favorability goes up to 63. His approval rating among Democrats goes up to 99.9. He then says, I never wanted to take the job. This is not my intention or my plan, but I will not let you down, Joe. And Joe's going to be like, thank you.
Except for Kamala is going to be on the side with an axe going, no, I don't think so. Unless a Supreme Court justice happens to be removed at the right time, she's not going to go away quietly because she's part of the alternate faction in California.
But I think she does as she's told. And the question actually is, how do you get past Kamala? Because if we're going in order of succession in any normal political circumstance, if Biden is out for any reason, Kamala is next.
No, she's there. I mean, the second he stops, she's there. So he has to say, I'm not running again, but stay alive long enough for Gavin to come in. So what
happens is Biden doesn't leave office. He says, you know, while I'm recovering, I think it's fair to say that I will not seek re-election due to the, you know, the concerns that people have for my health. But I believe Gavin Newsom is that proven leader, and Kamala will agree. You cannot beat that PR. I don't see any other way they remove Kamala from the equation without looking really weird and clumsy.
Well, to build off your theory, Chief Justice Breyers is retiring at the end of his term, right? So theoretically, they could say, Kamala, you get to be on the Supreme Court. Like, to your point, this is actually happening.
Help us!
Yeah! And then she'll be like, I don't need to run for president. I'm going to stay in the Supreme Court forever. And then Gavin Newsom is like, great. I will become president, nominate you, or Joe Biden, I guess, if he's around, depending on when his, you know, medical emergency happens. I mean, Kamala they really do have this set up where it could work. All the Supreme Court justices get lobbied to stay or not stay, depending on what benefits the rest of the party.
Kamala could say something like, you know, I was here for Joe, and, you know, with everything that's going on, I am overwhelmed. And, or she stays on as VP and says, I think being the vice president and having Gavin step in is fine.
We have a 2-term VP.
Can't see that.
That'd be crazy.
I cannot see that because from what I understand, she and Gavin are not tight. So Supreme Court Justice, I could see them giving her that. I mean, that's life.
But that means he needs a different VP and she has to leave for some reason. But I agree. I mean, I can't think of a scenario in which they can successfully have Biden not run. And if they don't, then Kamala doesn't run. They've got barricades here.
Yeah.
Biden, they have no choice. What are they going to do? If they pull him out, it looks weak and it's uncertainty and people are scared of it. At the very least, they might lose votes. Trump might not gain votes. They might lose votes. If Biden's out, then it's got to be Kamala. If it's not Kamala, people are like, what's happening? Like, how do you have Biden and Kamala not be running at all? And it's Gavin and someone else.
Well, and Biden said explicitly, you know, one of his goals was to have, you know, more diverse people representing the party at the federal level. So to a certain extent, people are expecting to become for a lot of reasons. She just didn't work out the way they wanted her to. Like, she would never polled in a popular way. She does not have the charisma to carry off the presidency. But if they can shuffle her off, they can power broker her into the Supreme Court, maybe they'll be able to pull someone up from the bench. I think Gavin Newsom will have challenges all the time because I think the Democratic Party is sort of split on the face that they'd like to see in the White House. But he is the only person on their bench after the 2 current president and vice president.
And he's going to debate. Is he still debating DeSantis? What's up with that?
I think so. I can look
Which is weird. I mean, think about that for a second, because again, he's not running, but we do have precedent. Remember I said 1968.
Right.
Yep.
Well, what did we have in 1968? An extremely corrupt president who did not have the best health, who stepped out of the race. And then we had a Robert F. Kennedy enter the race and take over. So LBJ and Biden are really similar. There's a lot of parallels there. The corruption, the family money, the TV station.
And how long was Kennedy in before LBJ?
2-3 years.
Yeah. It was not a full presidential run. So you get Trump in for a year and then Biden steps in. So there are other similarities in the duration.
Politico is reporting that the Gavin Newsom Ron DeSantis debate is at an impasse because of issues Fox is having. So it was planned for November, but I guess it's like maybe not going to happen.
Okay, Gavin, Ron, come on down. We'll turn the camera on and go live.
Culture war.
No, but in all seriousness, it'd be cool if we did. But how hard is it for them to turn on a webcam and be like, let's talk?
No, they have to use mainstream media, Tim. Otherwise, you're a fringe right-wing candidate. No one can do that.
That's right.
From what I understand, DeSantis isn't going around on podcasts anywhere. So he's finally learning, I guess, now, but he seemed to be allergic to it.
Oh, man, Vivek is hitting the nail on the head with the hammer. Yeah. He's been going on every podcast he can. He went on Alex Stein's live show and they got asked about 9/11. They're using that against him.
Yeah.
But Vivek's just like, I'll go on anyone's show. Like, let's get the word out. I think Vivek understands the balkanization of media spaces.
And Bobby Kennedy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For both of them. I mean,
he said podcasts are going to play a huge role in this election. Yes, obviously.
I can't remember if it was Vivek or Larry Elder that week that we had both of them on, but one of them was talking about doing the podcast, like a podcast style thing, like fireside chat from the Oval Office. Like, it is cool to see these people embrace new media, especially as we can see. I don't know that Fox will ever go completely away entirely, but it doesn't have the power it used to.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.